to the bottom center of the map in red. The Startail Terran, he is
Startail Bomber.
all the momentum was with him. Now maybe it's swung totally to Sulky's favor. The pendulum swinging here.
And in the top position, the Zerg player trying to make it the round of 4.
Wongjin Star Sulky.
And I feel like he does have some momentum on his side here, Wolf.
Has he gotten the Bomber's head a little bit? And how frustrated is Bomber? You know, you always know that moment where a programmer loses his army like that, or, you know, doesn't trade as well as he could with his army, and then it happens to him again. That always gets into your head a little bit, where you're sitting there going, you know, if I had just not made this one mistake, everything would have been so much better for me. And then it happens again, and it's hard not to kick yourself in the foot for it, because you know that things were supposed to be different. You're a top-level programmer that does normally not make mistakes like this.
Well, you know, I think we're going to see better play out of Bomber this game. He knows that he did some misclicks and he was inattentive a couple times, and that cost him. And especially when you're skipping Widow Mines, it's all based, as you said, Wolf, off of your splits. So if you miss one set of splits, then Zerg suddenly is going to run you over. But I think Bomber can definitely do it here. He's going back into his more greedy plays, going for the command center first. Last game he was, you know, he was a little bit more paranoid, a little bit safer with everything, and still killed the 4th so quickly. So as long as he's paying attention this game, he can still do it.
Yeah. Goes CC first, and on the other hand, on the other side of things, Sulky is going hatch first again with gas before that pool, so taking a risk himself. I like it, though, in Game 5.
The Overlord's going to see exactly what's going on. Of course, Bomber going back to not scouting. Prefers not to. Wants to get that economy really rolling in the early game.
Yeah. That aggression that we've seen with Hellions and Banshees can be really strong on this map. Third base is not close for Sulky. It's not extremely far, you know, like on some of our other maps, but it's not as comfortable.
No, it's certainly not.
The rush distance as well on this map, not too far for Bomber to be aggressive, especially once he gets that third base up and gets running with those rallies.
Where do you think Bomber will take his third?
I think north of his main.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling that as his third base here.
It's just because he's so aggressive.
Yeah.
If you're playing a more defensive style, you don't necessarily take that as the base because it's the most open, it's the closest to your opponent. But because Bomber is usually not the defender, he is the attacker, I feel like that's the base to take, especially with this command center placement here.
Well, you know, Sulky's third will probably be over on the right-hand side of the map, so if Bomber takes a third right there, he's going to be able to rally a lot quicker while still defending everything reasonably well against Sulky.
Yeah, could not agree more. That's got to be the game plan here for Bomber. Does drop down his factory and reactor as expected. Sulky with total vision here. Doesn't actually see the third CC, though. He didn't get brave enough with his Overlord just yet. He just checked the gas only.
Yeah, he actually sees the gases on both sides, so I think he's pretty keen on what's going on. I think he realizes that this is a third command center.
Yeah.
Now, could we see him go for something like a Baneling Bust again? I'm not quite feeling it this time.
No, I don't
The build
think so.
is a bit different from Bomber. And I don't think that that's a worthwhile risk for Sulky to take.
Well, he just started 8 drones too, and he's sending the drone over, so the speculation was there. Maybe he could have potentially done it, but he says no, drops the third base down. Roach Warren, on the other hand, now this could lead to some heavy aggression to trade for some SCVs.
Certainly. We definitely could see him go into one of these kind of more old school styles from the beginning of the year. From when HOTS first came out, you know, the Widow Mines were such a difficult thing for people to deal with that there was a lot of Roach Baneling attacks, and Sulky may just pull that out of nowhere and surprise him.
That's the kind of thing that is so scary to do in a best of 5, especially because Bomber is the type to occasionally make a siege tank, as we see right now. The Tech Lab is done. He starts the first siege tank. He's playing safe here.
Well, that siege tank is going to break Sulky's heart if he does go for Roaches, because a siege tank on high ground against Roaches is just hilarious.
He could also just make 4 or 5 Roaches against the Hellions, because the Hellions have been given a little bit of trouble in this series. Could see that as well. And with 13 drones, he's definitely not committing. And he saw the Tech Lab on the factory, so he's like, no way. No way am I going to commit to this.
In fact, he starts 13 drones and grabs his double Evos. And actually, we had another tank start and then cancel here from Bomber. Looks like he realizes he needs to get his upgrades going as well.
Exactly. It's kind of like he knows that Sulky might be aggressive, then he knows that Sulky knows that he knows that. So he thinks, all right, well, I don't need the siege tank anymore because he knows.
He can delay it out a little bit more. And he does start it, though.
Yeah, he's not going to skip it entirely, because siege tanks are also useful for your composition.
Oh, certainly. If you control them well during your attack, definitely adds a lot of splash damage. But it looks this game like he is going to switch into Widow Mines at some point. Yeah. And that's just going to be kind of a safer composition overall.
I don't think Sulky is going to make any roaches at all in this game.
I don't either.
Not even one, I don't think.
In fact, he probably at this point really wants Bomber to somehow scout that so that Bomber may get scared that he's going to do such a thing. Because roaches just have no meaning in this game right now.
Yeah. Especially with more siege tanks coming out.
The Baneling Nest started, and he does have that 1-1 on the way. It's just about tied with Bomber, so they're going to stay neck and neck in the upgrades for a while.
Going for that ice back there. That's so comfortable fourth base for both players to take if the game goes long enough. Macro Hatch goes down. We haven't seen that every game from Sulky. In fact, this may be the first game we've seen it from him.
Well, I think he realizes that he needs a lot of Zergling and Baneling production. You know, just the way that Bomber's been playing. If we look at every time Bomber has actually gotten an advantage against Sulky, it's because Sulky is like making his Lings right then or making his Banelings right then. But by having a nice early macro hatch, he can really get that production going a little bit faster and have those additional units.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is a great choice for the style he's up against. Bomber hitting his armory, timing nicely. Both players going to hit 2-2 right as soon as the first upgrades are done. Baneling speed is out early for Sulky as well. So important against that first wave. You have to have that ready.
Is that the third siege tank he's making right now? No, that's the fourth siege tank he's making. Interesting, okay. But he does have that second factory, so I do expect him to switch over very, very soon here. Now, in the meantime, Sulky, he's made 31 Lings. He's got 31 left right now. But that Spire is about to finish, and just in time, too. He sees the medevac coming.
Yeah. Medevac coming in. As soon as he has those mutas out, he can shut down that aggression.
Now, we do have 26 more Lings on the way. The Baneling speed almost finishing up, and with the 11 mutas popping out, he should be able to stop all these drops. Also, notice the mini-map and the Overlord spread along with the creep. Sulky has full vision of anything coming at him. You literally can't surprise him if he keeps his eye on the mini-map.
Indeed, and this is just a perfect example of that. Lings are ready. The mutas, will he be able to snipe the medevac? Not yet, the drop here. I always love how Terran players are able to do that, take a bad situation and just drop the Marines, try to save them, maybe trade for a Mutalist.
Hey, he got out of there. That's really nice. You do not want to lose that. Every medevac that's full represents 10 supply, and more importantly, represents a medevac.
Yes, medevac's the butter of the bread and butter of Marine medevac.
Yes,
You follow me?
Yeah, you know what? It makes the bread taste better.
Yeah.
Less dry.
Exactly.
All right, so Muta's coming in now for some harassment, taking out that missile turret very, very quickly, but he's going to want to get out of here. Ooh, loses one.
I don't think that's worth it.
No, definitely not. You don't want to trade a Mutalist for a missile turret. That's not going to get you to come out on top.
No, not even if you get one SCV, not worth it.
I'm looking at this. This is really interesting. He's actually going 2-factory Siege Tank Wolf. He's playing like a very old-school style, and in fact, I think this is because he's chosen to take this base. Because when you take that as your third base, what do you take as a fourth against Zerg? That's going to be extremely difficult. So he's going to have one gigantic push with a lot of siege tanks in it, Wings of Liberty style. Yeah. Can Sulky deal with that?
It's very difficult for Bomber to take the fourth base behind his natural because he needs time to kill those rocks. And if he's killing those rocks, his base is exposed, and also he's not being aggressive. So it's a very uncomfortable position. I like the Thor that he's making right now because that's going to help him out with the siege tanks. Because if you don't have any Widow Mines, you definitely need a Thor to help deal with the Mutalist. That's the reason why once Widow Mines were introduced to Heart of the Swarm, people just don't really use this composition anymore because Mutalists are so strong against it. Yeah, the Mutalists being so much better as well. The siege tanks are just immobile. If you send Marines back to deal with things, then your siege tanks get picked off. This is such a patient play that we're seeing for Bomber. Yeah, this is going to be such an insane push. Seriously, this is going to be very, very powerful. Sulky wants to set up a flank here, it looks like, or a counterattack, but Bomber is not pushing too aggressively. He's so careful about how he does this, and Sulky's struggling to find a good moment. Ooh, that siege tank shot got so many Banelings down. Don't forget, siege tanks do have that big buff on them where they actually shoot so much faster.
I'm actually a little bit scared for Sulky. This is like, you look at a push like this coming and you think, okay, this isn't necessarily the best way to play Terran, but it's so damn scary.
It's scary, and it's something he hasn't seen for a while. Here's a run by. The lift on the depot is good, but there's not enough units here. He has to turn around.
Yes, he certainly does. The Banelings going into that natural. In the meantime, the other Banelings look like they got cleaned up very quickly. Banelings rolling into the main base now. At least this is slowing him down.
Yeah, this is slowing him down. This is exactly what Sulky wanted. Such good hits on those SCVs in the main.
Yeah, that was actually very, very well done. In fact, he has to walk all the way back in. Look, this is what we were talking about before. The siege tanks left behind. The mutas cleaned them up. And with those siege tanks dying, so do most of the hopes of Bomber winning this game.
Yeah. And, you know, before even winning the game, the next challenge for him is to take a 4th base, because with everything he just lost, oh,
man. The pain just doesn't end.
Yeah. But with what he just lost, including those Marines, I can't see him ending this game on 3 base. He's going to try to have to hold this out. Maybe,
yeah.
I mean, maybe with this next push, he can move forward, but he doesn't have any Widow Mines and very few siege tanks. He has no backbone to this army.
Well, I think if you try to take a 4th base, you 100% lose. I think he needs to very slowly push forward still and wait for 3-3.
Yeah, 3-3 is not
try to have the engagement not happen until 3-3, but Sulky's playing so smartly, knowing that these siege tanks are so slow to move back, he's just going to continue to counterattack.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, for me, if he tries to make the slow push work any further, he's always going to have to worry about this. No splits on those Marines. And now he's going to lose everything he has at home, and he has to turn around again with his push. Meanwhile, Sulky is just continuing to mine gas, doing some damage here on the main base as well, picking off those SCVs. And he could stop 3-3 from finishing. I think he's targeting the EB.
Oh, man, you're right.
Corrupts it as well.
Even goops it in case it's further along than he thinks. And with that 3-3 stopping, Bomber realizes he just has to attack. But this is a lot of Banelings, and there's a lot of mutas that can come back as well.
Ooh, the splitting here a little bit off, but finally does pull it back. That was a close call there. That was a great split. And he still has a chance to make this work. He just doesn't have the 3-3 that he wants. The next wave of Banelings is probably going to be too much for him.
I feel like this is going to be too much indeed. The single siege tank being taken out. The Lings and Banelings just overwhelming everything. The Mutilis coming in to try to pick off some medevacs as well. Bomber is on the run, and he is down 70 supply.
Now, this is going to be it. Sulky just has way too much here. Really, really hitting him hard with those run-bys, leaving the siege tanks in the middle of the map. A critical mistake by Bomber, and now he's being abused here by the Mutilis. The main base totally under siege, losing SCVs, add-on siege tanks, whatever he wants for it. This is the worst possible situation Bomber could find himself in. He was up 2-0 in this series, and Sulky does get the 3-0 reversal. He doesn't force the cheat sheet just yet, but what can Bomber hope to achieve
There's nothing that Bomber can hope to achieve. Bomber has lost so many siege tanks, so many medevacs. His economy has been shattered. The Mutilis continue to fly in. This is why we don't see people go 2-factory siege tank, because you can't deal with the Mutilis harassment.
Yeah, it just does not happen. GG. Sulky takes the 3-2, brings back the comeback.
An amazing reverse all kill. The only Zerg out of 4 to make it to the 2nd round.
Showing his championship badge. Sulky is such a good player, so consistent.
Just fantastic play. Bomber, on the other hand, he played very well in the series, but after that Baneling bust, he lost some of his edge. That game 4, he made some mistakes, and that could have been his game. This could have been a 3-1, but this final game, I feel like it's just the strategy he chose. It was dated. Sulky knew exactly what to do against it. It is a scary push, but Sulky's like, you know what, I'm just going to run around.
Counterattack.
Yeah.
Big Lings with that macro hatch. He's got so many Lings.
And then he gets enough Mutilis that it's like, what are you going to do? And the thing is, Bomber, he accidentally left a few siege tanks out there, and when he lost 5-6 siege tanks for free while taking damage from counterattack, that basically sealed the deal.
Yeah, like you said, taking a 4th base would basically be like accepting defeat.
Yeah.
But to attack without those siege tanks was just something that was against a player like Sulky, someone who's that high level. It's never going to work.
Well, you know what? He was in a pretty tough spot there, Wolf. He was between creep and mutas.
Yeah, it's like being in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, but it's even worse than that, because there's mutas in your back door killing your SCVs, and then ahead of you there's just all this creep with speed banelings on it. So
the push was slow, well executed, but that run by, that really got him. He didn't have enough at home. He didn't have a wall set up. He didn't have bunkers. You know, he had a bunch of Marines, but if he had 4 bunkers full of Marines, maybe that's maybe too much he can afford on 3 bases while he's trying to make this push work. Sulky just having the better idea, better grasp of how to handle Frost. Or not Frost, Polar Knight, excuse me.
You know, Bomber's greatest strengths are also his greatest weaknesses. He uses some wonky out there strategies that can catch people off guard that he has more practice with. Yeah. But at the same time, the reason that they're wonky, the reason that they're out there is because they aren't quite as solid as other ones. So if you get a player like Sulky who just knows the game inside out, sees what you're doing and knows exactly how to deal with it, you're going to have a hard time.
You know, I feel like Sulky is almost like the new ST when it comes to like analyzing somebody's play.
He's a brain, for sure.
He just looks at things and he can figure out exactly the best way to beat it easily.
Well, as you can see, we have our round of 4. And everything was pretty one-sided until today. This is a really great match.
So we will have a Protoss in the finals no matter what.
And it looks like, I think that's actually a misprint there. Trap is not playing. It's actually Deer playing against Rain. So it'll be Rain versus Deer, a PvP, and then Maru against Sulky. Whoa, that's going to be awesome. A TVZ to give us a Protoss versus something in the finals.
Yeah, that's going to be really awesome. Maru versus Sulky itself, and Deer versus suddenly escaping me the Frost.
Rain,
yeah. Is also could be a finals. Both of these could be finals.
Yeah.
And we're going to have an even epic match on top of that.
We're going to have an even more finals at the end. It's going to be fantastic.
It'll be so much finale. It's the final last match of 2013.
Well, this has been a fantastic day, Wolf. Thank you so much for casting with me.
I always love it.
Make sure, guys, that you tune in tomorrow where Tasteless and I will be casting that wonderful round of 4 and seeing who goes to the HOT6ix CUP finals.
Yeah, make sure you guys also buy a subscription ticket. You can get this for free if you buy the yearly ticket for next year. Spread the word on that. You can follow the two of us on Twitter. He's Artosis. I'm Proxy Wolf. See you guys next time.